Hey guys, welcome back. It is a new year. There are a lot of people out there who are probably wanting to become a writer, write a book in 2025. So your next thought might be, well, when can you call yourself a writer? What makes you a writer? What defines you as a writer? Without a doubt, when you start getting into the question of defining yourself as a writer, imposter syndrome will walk hand in hand with you. So my question would be, who are you going to let define yourself as a writer? Are you going to let the act of writing define you as a writer? If you write, are you a writer? Are you going to let publication be your defining moment? I'm published in this magazine. I'm a writer. I have an ebook published. I'm a writer. I've got a traditionally published book. I'm a real writer. Like, there's so many ways and so many different outlets that people will use to define themselves. I ran a writing group for many years, and this was a very often common topic. And like I said, imposter syndrome and being able to define yourself as a writer, they go hand in hand. And if someone is struggling with either, it can affect your productivity with writing, and especially if you're a new writer, you do not want to affect your productivity. You do not want to give yourself any more excuses not to write, and you're already probably making up way too many to prevent yourself from putting something down on paper. So in this video, I'm just going to offer my thoughts on this topic, what I would say to someone and what I have said to people in the past who were struggling with these thoughts about am I a real writer, and also people who are struggling with imposter syndrome. Not everyone will agree with my definition of what makes someone a writer. You may not agree with what I think, but these are just my thoughts. And if you're watching that video, I guess you were curious enough to click on the video. So this is what I think. Only you can define yourself as a writer. Don't wait for someone else to give you that power, that acknowledgement. If you're doing the deed, if you are writing, you are a writer, right? I also have a gardening channel. I go out in my garden. I do intentional work out in the garden. I call myself a gardener. If I'm going to write with intention, with devotion, I'm a writer. So I encourage you, if you're doing the action, if you're putting the time in, the devotion, the intention, the dedication, go ahead. Claim that power. Claim yourself as a writer. So once you acknowledge yourself as the writer, you know in your heart you're making that commitment. You can fight the imposter syndrome. When it creeps in, when the thoughts come to you that say you're not good enough, you're not published enough, you haven't done this, you have no credentials, you don't have an MFA, you can fight against that. I hope that these thoughts can help you. It's a battle sometimes in yourself to create, and the more obstacles there are, the less you will be likely to create. So even if you don't feel like you're a writer, go ahead, start writing and become a writer. Do the action. Put your devotion on the page, acknowledge that to yourself, and then you can fight off all of those negative thoughts. It won't be easy, but in my mind, if you are making the time, if you're devoted, you have that intention, you're a writer. And so those are just my humble thoughts. Everyone struggles with that. Any person in a creative outlet is going to struggle with imposter syndrome. And it's great to have goals. I'm not saying don't have goals like I want to be published in such and such magazine by 2026 or 2027. It's great to have goals, but don't let reaching those goals define you as a writer. Because there will be a lot of times you do not reach your goals. Something happens, something changes, and you don't reach it. So if you're leaving the power with that accomplishment, you're sabotaging yourself. So one time I had the goal of being published in Glimmer Train. Well, guess what? They went out of business. So, it's hard to put, I just want to encourage you not to put the power of defining yourself as a writer into the hands of others. That is very subjective. And once you get out there and start submitting, for publication, you will see how horrifically subjective all of this is. And you really have to have a thick, tough skin. And so in order to tolerate all of those rejections, you need to feel really strong on the inside. So I want you to give the power back to yourself. If you are writing, if you have intention, if you have devotion, dedication, call yourself a writer. All right, guys, share your thoughts below. What do you think defines being a writer?